Sure. One of the questions that I often get are non-academic ways to prepare for either writing the kinesiology exam or being a kinesiologist. And I know that I normally will tell students having any type of hands-on learning is going to prepare them for the test, of course, but that's following graduation. So some of them will take placements volunteering or working, in a physio clinic or something like that to gain those practical skills. But is there any other suggestions that you can give? So non-academic ways that they can prepare for a career in kinesiology.
So, totally agree. We often get those questions from kins that are nearing graduation or aren't quite sure if career in kin is exactly what is going to be best for them. Something that I like to recommend regularly is to find a kin that looks like what you want to be. So do a search through wherever your provincial association is. The nice thing about the associations is that they actually list the interests of the kins. So if you were to look myself up on OK, you'll see that I do chronic pain, I'm mobile, and I have an interest specifically in the non-athletic population. If you're looking for somebody like that, great, you've just checked all your boxes. Reach out to that person and say, hey, can I shadow you? Can I just ask you a million questions about your practice? Talk to them, because you will get the best information and answers to your questions that may be really specific when you talk directly to somebody. And if you're not finding somebody that meets all of the criteria of what you want your practice to look like or what you want to look like as a professional, that's a really great place to start looking at things like the Facebook groups that exist or the Instagram groups that exist and say, hey, I'm new, I'm going to graduate. I'm done with the book learning stuff right now. I need some actual input from a human who wants to talk to me. And the nice thing with healthcare is all of us are such people anyways. We love to talk all the time. You're going to find that there's a huge community to chat with those people. There's a really great, I'll see if I can pull it up here. There's a really great Facebook group that's just a group of kins. Some of them are from Ontario, but most of them are from across the country. It's just called Connected Kinesiologists. And you'll see there that there's a whole bunch of good content in terms of questions that are being asked. What are you guys looking for in jobs? All that sort of stuff. So when you are branching out from the academic world, which after coming out of 4 or 5 years of university is pretty overwhelming, going and trying to find those real world opportunities is something we always recommend. Something that I personally find really useful, and I did this, I did not write my my registration exam right after I graduated. I actually went and I looked at a whole bunch of continuing education courses that had nothing to do with what I learned in school. So all of the gaps that I had identified, I wanted to be this type of practitioner, but my education prepared me to be this type of practitioner. What was in the middle there? So courses that had nothing to do with athletes, nothing to do with that sort of thing. I wanted to learn specifically how to deal and interpret with people's pain, things like that. Look, and I always say there's 3 really big things to kind of identify for any healthcare practitioner, but kin especially because we are a new healthcare. Figure out what type of practitioner you want to be. Do you want to be in a clinic? Do you want to teach? Do you want to be mobile? Do you not want to have anything to do with a clinic? Identify that sort of what kind of practitioner, what kind of environment you want to work in. Figure out who you want to work with. If you don't want to work with kids, getting into a placement with kids is probably not going to help you advance where you want to be as a practitioner. So figure out who you want to work with. And if you don't know who you want to work with, that is a really great place to start for looking for those shadowing opportunities. Check out a whole bunch of people. You're very rarely going to find somebody that says, no, I don't want to show you anything about my practice. Most of them are very willing to take you in, even now, take you into virtual sessions. If a client consents, you're in, you're good. And you can learn a lot that way. And the third one is set a goal. What's your ultimate goal? Do you want to be in practice? Do you want to own a clinic? Do you want to eventually gain some sort of notoriety in terms of awards for research, things like that? What's your overall goal? So it's a nice broad question, Tiffany. I really appreciate that, because I find that students, after you come out of university, it's like, so I read books for 4 years and I don't know what to do now, and I don't want to read more books and I need some real stuff. So we try and if you guys ever need assistance with that, connect with us at the CKA or at the OK or whatever provincial association is going to be yours, and ask them, I need help finding these people. Can you help me with these people? Because the CKA, the OK, all of the provincial associations and us, we offer internships. We help connect you with internships. We do all of that footwork for you. So awesome question. I can see Paige has asked one here too. So wondering if you had any tips that's looking for somebody looking to practice in BC that went to school in Ontario. I've been staying in BC for a couple of months and wish to make the switch out here come the new year. I've been on the BC site for KINS and submitted my academic application, but was wondering if you had any further tips. Great question. So this is where it's really important, if you don't want to practice in Ontario, ask the questions about the other provinces now too, because I can answer those for you. So Paige, I was in the complete opposite situation as you. I went to UBC for my undergraduate degree and I'm from Hamilton, Ontario. So I was like, oh my God, what do I do? The nice thing is anytime that you're outside of Ontario at this present moment, no one else is regulated. So that means that you only have to deal with the association. So it's much easier for you to get into working as a kin. You've already completed the right steps, submitting your application to BCAK. Zachary Betts is the membership coordinator over at BCAK, and he's wonderful. He will go through it, get back to you. If there's anything missing, any questions, he'll let you know. But I would really recommend starting to decide kind of what sector you want to work in. BC, much like Ontario, has a very heavy presence with the automobile accident industry. And in British Columbia, there's only one insurer. It's ICBC or it's nobody. So deciding if that sort of world is what you want to work in, there's a lot of paperwork with ICBC, same as there is in Ontario. So if you want to work with them, start rolling through the paperwork, start looking at all of their requirements. But if you're thinking, no, I just maybe want to go into a clinic that's established, maybe I want to do my own thing, make sure that you have fulfilled the regulations for the province. So you become a BCAK member, make sure that you purchase your professional liability insurance. And in the big provinces, so Ontario, BC, Quebec, and Alberta, you actually immediately become a member of the CKA. So with us, just by being a member of your provincial association, which is awesome because it's one less step for you, but you get a whole nother host of human beings to talk to if you need a bit more direction. So you've done everything right. And for anybody else that's curious about another province, that's the same situation. All the other provinces, you just have to deal with your provincial association. If you're from a small province, especially Atlantic Canada, you're dealing directly with the CKA. So they have a province and they have their provincial association, but we manage it for them. If you're from a big province, you're dealing directly with the provincial association. The Ontario KINs are the only ones right now that have to go through the whole regulatory process for the college, write the exam, do all of these things. Other provinces will get to that stage within the next 5 to 10 years, but they're not there yet. So it's easier in other provinces. All right, next question here. So how can I go about looking for and inquiring about an internship opportunity as a current student or an event, a volunteer placement? Really great question. So as I said, you can connect with us directly. So if you email the CK right now, you're going to email me. It will get forwarded to my desk. I'm going to be the one that says, okay, here's the list. Most of us try and update the website as often as we can with our opportunities in terms of the OK has an internship available, AK has an internship available, or we do. Always check with the universities. So the university job boards, or if you are in the co-op program, they're not always a paid position. Sometimes they are those volunteer internship positions for people that are searching for them. So you can actually check those out and see, because the universities are really good about keeping things up to date and on top of things versus some of the small associations that maybe there's one person running the whole shebang and that one person doesn't have time to update every 2 weeks when something changes. So check the university postings, check in with the provincial association, whichever one that may be for you. Check in with the CKA. We have a whole list on our website. Same thing, careers, job opportunities, might be with us, might be somebody else's. Indeed, sometimes you will find volunteer internship opportunities, but honestly, the best thing that I can recommend to you, if you have somewhere specific or someone specific that you want to work with, contact them directly. Just because they're not advertising that they're looking for somebody doesn't mean that they will not take you. More often than not, they just don't have the time or the resources to try and go through that huge hiring process, especially now. So if you know, I really want to work at this clinic, just contact them. Give them a rundown of your situation. Say, I'd really love to be able to work with you in whatever capacity you can take me, or shadow you, or do an internship. 9 times out of 10, they'll find something for you because they're just grateful to have somebody in to see how they work. You're a reflection of their business as well. So they're always happy to have you come in and do that. Tiff, awesome. Thanks, Tiffany. Thanks for sharing that, which is fantastic. Chad is, I've had some emails with him. He's great. You guys were excellent hands. How long does it take to prepare for the exam? So that depends what kind of student you are. Everybody's different. That also depends, are you one of those that went right from high school to university and wants to write the exam immediately? Did you take some time off? Is this maybe your second degree, second career? Your life stages are going to be important. I've written 2 regulatory college exams for different professions. I will say that the kinesiology one was much harder than the massage therapy one that I wrote, but it's not harder in terms of the content. It's harder in terms of you have to be nice, slow, read through everything. If you're not a big individual that loves like things like health history or legislation or consent, you have to get good at those things. Because writing that exam really calls upon your critical thinking, your problem solving, and your ability to take in a large amount of information and just pick out the important stuff. The fact that John loves coffee and owns cats has nothing to do with the fact that he has COPD. So really narrowing it down. I shouldn't admit this to you guys, but I had 4 months that I took to really hone in and prepare. I probably spent about an hour a day of those 4 months, but the last month is when I really kind of settled down into it as a job. All right, I'm going to do 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. The college actually does a really good job of providing you materials to study with. So COCO is the website above. That's the college website. They actually have a prepare for the exam section, and they will give you practice materials. I think I have 2 of mine sitting around here from a couple of years ago when I wrote it. It's a few hundred questions that they give you. It's all multiple choice. If you're not a multiple choice person, become a multiple choice person because they don't give you another option for it. But whatever you found preparing for your final exams in university, however you had to study for those to succeed and do well, and I'm talking about not like pass the course, but like get a 75 on the exam or higher, that's how long and how much you should be studying for the registration exam, because it's the same style, it's the same amount, it just has a higher bar in terms of your pass is no longer a 50, it's a 70. And you don't get a grade, you get pass or fail. So really make sure that you feel comfortable with the practice questions, because although the questions on the exam are not going to be identical, the format's the same. So really focus on how you did in university, change the bad habits, like I was watching Grey's Anatomy at the same time, don't do that. Get into what you feel is a good rhythm for you, and you will be more than prepared. The college also, because you have to register for the exam so far in advance, you know exactly how much time you have to study, and it's more than a semester's worth of time. So you will have lots of time to be prepared. These are really great questions, guys. It's awesome. All right, anybody? Oh, here we go. You beat me to it. What are some of the hurdles that new kin grads often face when they are entering the workforce as a kinesiologist? Excellent question. I find from noticing how many kins email me every day and say, what does a kin do? That's probably the biggest hurdle. They don't actually know what they're allowed to do, what they can tell the public that they do, what they're qualified to do. I've had plenty of kins come to me and say, here's my transcript. What can I do with this? That really comes down to you having an understanding of what you're capable of. If you know the scope of practice is national across the country. It's the same. It's very vague. Everybody can do the same thing. It's basically augment rehabilitation. How can you do that? You can do that any way that you're capable of doing that. If it's manual adjustments of tissue, like a massage therapist, if it's exercise prescription, if it's lifestyle prescription or nutrition, you can do all those things if you are qualified. I'll give you an example of that. So in my education, did I do nutrition courses? Yes, we all have to. It's part of the requirement of kin. Do I do nutrition counseling? Absolutely not. It's not something that I have spent enough time on to feel that I am a qualified professional to speak to you about the actual breakdown of the foods you're putting in your mouth. I can say to you, you know, here's for the diabetic education side of it, because that's something that I do. But if your goals are you're a high performance athlete, you are looking for a weight change in terms of cutting or bulking because you're a weightlifter, I don't do that stuff. I refer out. I could if I wanted to, but I don't. And you really need to narrow down what you're going to be interested in, because the breadth of what you can do according to the legal scope of practice is huge. But do you want to do every single thing in it, or do you feel qualified to give that advice to do it? Not everyone's going to have the same answer, which is why you see kins with such different practices across the country. Using myself as an example again, I deal a lot with chronic pain. Nowhere in the scope of practice does it specifically say that we can work with those people, but we can work with those people. How we choose to do that, I've done years of education on it. Another kin might say, I don't like pain. I don't want to deal with that. I want to work with the athletes. And that's where our practices diverge, but we are the same type of practitioner because we're both kinesiologists. So definitely figure out what you like and what you don't like. Make that list. I'm good at this stuff. I know this stuff. I've done extra education on this stuff. If you just got by in the one course on cardiopulmonary and things like that, maybe going into post-stroke or post-heart is not a great option for you because it may not be what you enjoy, and that's okay. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Tiffany. Yeah, there's some really good resources out there. Kinformation is one of them, run by Spencer Raposo, who is our kin in Ontario. The Connected Kinesiologist group, you'll see him a ton. There's lots and lots and lots of prep stuff for the exam. And it's great because after you write the exam and you kind of dump all this knowledge that you have onto a piece of paper, they're really good to go back to and review later and say, oh, I haven't seen somebody with post-stroke symptoms in 2 years. I should probably relearn some of that stuff. Oh, Joan, good question. Liability insurance. I love this topic. Okay, so does liability insurance for a kin differ from province to province, and what is the price range? Good question. So insurance does differ province to province in 2 ways. One, it differs because you have to have your legal address of where you are, and it has to state where you're going to practice. So if you have insurance and you're listed in Ontario and you are listed as practicing in Ontario, but you want to practice in Nova Scotia, you need to talk to the insurance provider because your insurance needs to list where you physically are and also where you will be practicing. With virtual treatments, we see a lot of kins adding provinces that they're qualified to practice in to their insurance because they can reach all of these other provinces now. In terms of price, the price range, so it depends. If you go through it's called the national program. So the CKA, us, works with the provincial associations to get a big, huge group rate for everybody across Canada. The cost for the insurance is not what changes, but the cost for the membership is. So the membership group rate, it actually went down this year. It starts at $52 per year. We have over 4,300 kins on the national program this year. So each time we get more kins, the price drops for everybody, which is great. But the membership fee is what changes. Your membership fee is identified by the province that which you're in. So it is much more expensive, for example, to be in New Brunswick than it is in Alberta. There is several hundred more kinesiologists in Alberta than there are in New Brunswick, which is why the membership fees are different. So the insurance is the same, your coverage is the same, but the cost to get the insurance as part of your membership is going to be different. Extra education. So by extra education, did you mean doing another degree? You don't have to do another degree if you don't want to. Extra education can be what you determine it to be. It doesn't have to be part of the post-secondary network, so a university, a college, a trade school, things like that. Extra education can be courses that you found. Rock Tape, for example, is a partner of the CKA. Rock Tape offers a ton of continuing education courses for taping for lymphatic drainage, taping for amputation, taping for pain, taping for athletes. All of those things would be considered continuing education or additional education. if you are somebody that really loves to learn, I myself have gone back to school 3 times for things. If another degree or a diploma of some sort or certificate is what you're after and or is required for what you want to be. For example, a lot of kins now are starting to investigate adding acupuncture into their practice if they're supervised. That's a whole diploma that you have to earn. You can't just do a weekend course in it. But taping, you can. It really depends what you're looking to add. If you can find that education somewhere, get the book, read the book. Fascial training is one of those things. You can buy anatomy trains. It's the gold standard for fascial treatment. Read the book. That's your education. Do they offer courses on it if you'd like a certification? Yes. Do you need the certification to be able to provide treatment with their theory? No. So it all depends on what you are going to value and use in your practice. I'm a big advocate of not just doing a course because it gives you an extra letter behind your name. If you're going to do the course, really commit to it, because it makes all the difference in the world for your patients and your clients to know that you've committed to this type of treatment or this type of education and that you're going to follow through with that. So that's a really awesome question, because I feel like when we first graduate from post-secondary, we're so in post-secondary, it's like, okay, all the education I do has to be the university or has to be the college. And that's not a bad way to go if that's the way you want to go, but you do have other options, absolutely. Oh, and we've got some new joiners here with us, which is great. These are really awesome questions, guys. And these are the sort of questions that we get every single day from kins that have been working for 2, 3, 5, 10 years. They're not odd for us to get, that's for sure. Were there any other questions you wanted to add in there, Tiffany?
I don't think so. I think you did. You did. I think we do have another question coming
Awesome,
in,
yeah.
but I just wanted to say that before you get to the question, I appreciate you mentioned additional courses and things to take to add to your education. We try and tell our students more and more, it's all about the tools that you have in your toolbox, right? And you know, allowing yourself to be diverse from your colleagues and your peers just allows you to create that little niche. So there isn't, as much as it would be really nice if there was a very clear path, you know, to get to that point or to be that type of kinesiologist. It really does come from exactly what you said, which is taking these little experiences and creating your own niche. And I mean, that's true for any field, but especially in a field that's emerging like kinesiology is.
Well, and that's a really great point to mention there, is you are carving yourself out and you are defining yourself from the others in your class and your graduating year in the country, in the province. You will be different in some way. That way doesn't have to be another piece of paper, but it might be. If that's what works for you, then that's fantastic. And if you maybe don't know what you love yet, hey, get 5 certifications in something you might love. It's all about what type of practitioner you want to be and what you want to bring to your patients and who those patients are going to be, right? So building on the additional education question, we have another one. So is experience necessary in order to be hired? That depends. Who are you looking to hire you? If you're looking for a hospital, maybe. They typically are the ones that require a little bit more background, but that's not always the case. More often than not, employers are looking for you to be qualified and confident in what you're doing and making sure that you are well versed in the rules or the game of the profession. So you did your university degree, you passed the exam if there is one in the province that you're working in, you have your professional liability insurance, you have a genuine interest in what you're doing and a vested knowledge in what the rules around it are. You know that, for example, you can't do spinal manipulations. We don't have the scope of practice to do it. You can't do it. You know that. It's good. They're looking for you to be an asset to their team. And this is where, if extra education is what's going to get you that job, there are some jobs that say you can't have this job unless you have X, Y, and Z. You must have done vocational rehab, for example, for 2 to 3 years. Maybe you have to be a certified ergonomist to do this job. The outline of the job will give you exactly what you need, but plenty of employers are just looking for a good, genuine participant in the work. They want someone that's going to be committed to the job, committed to the patient load, and basically follow the rules, chart well, do the continuing ed if they need to, make sure they follow the standards, keep your insurance up to date, because everybody starts somewhere. And as long as you have that genuine interest and passion in the job, more often than not, they don't mind if you're new to it. I always recommend, if you have even the slightest interest in learning as much as you can all at one time, go into the motor vehicle accident sector. It's really hard work. It's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of rules, and you learn so much every single day. There's so many different places that you can choose to work. But if you're looking for somewhere that kind of always will take you, even if you're new, check out motor vehicle accidents. I myself have done it for a number of years just because I am one of those that enjoys it. But you don't always have to have a breadth of experience to do it. You can be a new grad and they'll be like, awesome, we love new grads here. Just be honest with your qualifications. Make sure you meet their qualifications. If you need extra qualifications and you really, really want that job, that's when you maybe go and investigate some of those extra education opportunities. So another question here. What other alternative therapies or other certifications do you think can be useful to obtain as a kin, generally speaking? So there's a couple really good things to be aware of. There are kind of two sets that we have to follow. So rules, first off, there are the things that we can never do. So there's a whole list of protected actions that we can't participate in. I already named one of them, which is spinal manipulations. You have to have certain designations to do that. There's a whole list of those. I can provide that list to you guys as well. There's also a list of what's called complementary modalities. So things that are openly accepted for kinesiologists to do as part of their practice if you have the appropriate training. What type of certifications, though, I couldn't give you a specific list because it depends on what type of kin you want to be. I myself, I used to be a trainer with a high caliber baseball team. I had my NCCP certifications. I had all types of Baseball Canada certifications. I did a whole bunch of athlete mental health training. I don't do that stuff anymore. So I've let basically all of that fall to the wayside. A lot of my population is the non-athletic population. So I have additional training in geriatric. And I've mentioned a few times I deal with a lot of chronic pain. So I have a whole bunch of different courses that I've taken in neurological and nerve ending and what we're learning about nerves. But there's no best practice for a kin to take an additional course because it depends what you want to be. Oftentimes you'll hear taping's the best, but if you're never going to tape in your practice, it's not going to be useful for you. Make sure that you take courses that are going to be useful for your practice. Because if you take a concussion course, but you don't see neurological patients, you exclusively, for example, work at the Spine Institute and only see lower back complaints, a concussion course is not going to help you. So choose things that you will use. That's my best example for you. And make sure that the qualifications are relevant to where you live. I had a question in one of my presentations last week about the FMS courses. It's an American course. Level 1, they will accept KINs. Level 2, they do not. So make sure that you look into what the qualifications are because sometimes they're offered from another country and we aren't recognized in every country. Same as some professions in other countries aren't recognized here. So make sure, check qualifications that are needed to practice whatever you're learning in the course. Take a course that's relevant to what you're going to do in practice. Don't just take it to take it.
Hi, Brooke. My question was the next one that you see on there. I was just wondering if they had anything that prepares them for interviews and stuff like that.
So I can't say that we have a specific tool. That's something I'm actually trying to build to go into our tools and resources section of the KIN Startup Kit. So any of you guys that have taken the opportunity to visit the actual website and click through, I'm trying to build more tangible things like that. We don't have anything right now though. Again, if you email the CKA, 99% of the time you're going to be pushed over to my desk. If you have questions about that, you're not sure about best practices for interviews, you've never done one for a kin job and you're concerned or not sure what to ask, email us. That's my whole job, is to help you guys and answer those questions. And I'm always happy to do that. Even if there's not one great guide that I've already made, I'm working on it. So email me and say, hey, I don't know what a good salary is. We have a document for that at the CKA. You can find it in our publications. Would you know that without talking to me? Probably not. So I can guide you to those pieces of information to help you kind of bridge the questions to the answers, help you find that information. Does that give you a good idea there?
Yeah.
It's coming. I'm trying to build all these tools, but my brain gets so excited and
yeah.
These are really great questions, guys. All right, so it looks like I think that we've gotten through everything there. I want to give the opportunity, if anybody has any more questions, I want to give you the opportunity to throw them out there. And something I will say, if we finish today and you go, oh my gosh, I forgot to ask blank, email the wonderful professors and instructors that you have and the coordinators, but you can also email me. Everybody here has my contact information. I can share it for you as well. And you will get an answer from me the same day that you send it, unless it's a Sunday. So always feel free. If you have a question, send it on over. Like I said, my whole job is to answer your questions, so that's all good. Ooh, one more question here. So if I want to apply for a job that I believe I'm qualified for, but don't have the experience, how can I market myself as a qualified applicant? Great question. And I think this is kind of a job experience, job market question overall, but healthcare is a really good one because a lot of it comes down to what have you worked with before or what do you know about? So if you don't have specific experience, you haven't done the job yet, but you know, I loved this when I learned about it. I did really well in it. I understand the application of it. I think I'd be good at it. Highlight that. New grads, oftentimes you don't have the continuing education course, so you don't have the 10 years of experience to say, here, look, here's my proof that I can do this job. Use your courses. Put down that you took course in concussion management and athlete, whatever, and they'll ask you, why is this relevant? Or tell them, if they don't ask, you say, look, I think I'd be good at this job because I did X, Y, and Z in school, and I loved it, and I was successful in it, and I had this really great feedback. And if you are somebody that has a good relationship with the profs, instructors, supervisors you've had, get them to write just a quick letter for you, explaining why you are a good choice for that. Because no, you may not have paid job experience yet, but you do have experience in something. It's just not that you're making money for yet because you were a student. Everybody starts somewhere. Give them what you do have. You have courses, you have knowledge, you have exams, you have grades, you have all kinds of things to show them. And awesome, you were reading my mind there, Tiffany. That's exactly what I was thinking of posting. Thank you for that. But show them what experience you do have, because you always have some kind of experience. Oh, one more that's come in here. So I'm curious about the common salaries of kinesiologists. So we have a document for that. I will, we're actually just putting together our national survey from 2020 information. So that salary information is going to change and be updated, but I will email the document just because I don't have it on hand right now and don't want to be looking for it while I'm talking to you guys, but I'll email it and then it can be disseminated to all of you, because that's a great question and something that we get very commonly. Like the responses to the salary questions that we get, it can be anywhere from $15 an hour in some provinces up to some kins are reporting over $200,000 a year. Really depends on what you're doing. Depends if you're self-employed, if you're an employee, if you're a contractor, what area you work in, and 700 other things. But the salary is such a huge, huge breadth of information. So I will share that publication with you. All the publications that I mentioned, they're all on the CKA website. There's a lot of them. It can be hard to find. So I will share a few relevant ones. And then if you guys don't subscribe to the CKA newsletter or one of your provincial association's newsletters, by the way, the Ontario Kinesiology Association has a free student membership. Would really suggest you just go and sign up for that, because you will then get all of this information in an email all the time. They've also built a whole platform called Keen. It's awesome. It's basically all the resources that you wanted in university, or I wanted in university to write my papers and learn. all in one succinct place. So go get a free student membership. Awesome idea. Register for the e-newsletters from CKA, from the provincial associations, multiple provincial associations. I try and get as much information as I can so I can cherry pick the stuff that I need. But you'll find that when publications, like when we publish the national survey responses, when I finish reading all of them, you'll find that we put that publication in a newsletter so that you can just go, oh, I was curious about this. Thanks. Just skip me down to this question. That's all I needed. Awesome. But I find that the newsletters are a really good source of information because whatever you don't want, you just skim over. Whatever you are looking for is already there for you. Those are great questions, guys. Awesome. And it's honestly, it's a very common wonderance for salaries because nobody really posts them on Indeed or on Facebook, anything like that to know. So that's an awesome question. I will, yes, Tiffany and Joan, I will send that to you both to disseminate to everybody. Okay. Excellent.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, anyone? I know that you may have more questions once you go through the material.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, what's the most rewarding, fulfilling aspect of being a kin? Ooh,
good question.
That's a good one. I feel like everybody would have a different answer to this. My most rewarding is having somebody take what they've learned with me and use it to do something in their life. So what I mean by that, I currently have a 36-year-old male on my caseload. He was hit by a car 2 years ago, and he was able to pick up his 2-year-old daughter recently for the first time since she's been born. So that to me is why I do my job. It has nothing to do with, I always say I didn't get into healthcare to make money. If you want to make money, go be an accountant, because I do what I do because I love my patients. They're why I'm okay doing all the paperwork and all the charting, things like that. But everybody's a little bit different. Some people it's because they got somebody to walk for the first time. Some people it's because they had a kid that didn't speak and they do a lot of speech therapy and they said a word. Everyone's a bit different, but I think that the common response that you'll get there is because of the patients, because of the clients. It has nothing to do with the hours, even though they can be nice. I'm self-employed, so my hours are what I make them. But when your patients are able to accomplish something and you know that you helped them do that, it's the best feeling. I don't think there's a better feeling. Anybody that has kids in the room could correct me there, but it's kind of the same thing. You help them, you teach them to do something. It's awesome. These are great, guys. All right, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have reached the end of the questions that have come in here.
I think so.
This is awesome.
We have your information and we have a bunch of links, and we'll make sure that we circulate those because I believe that once, Joanne, I think once we end this, the chat disappears, but I did save the chat.
Yay.
So we can circulate it to students as well.
Okay. I believe when I get the recordings, it gives me everything. It'll give me the audio, it'll give me the chat, it'll give me the video, all of it.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
This was great.
Awesome. Joanne, Tiffany, thank you so much for coordinating this for your students. And I'm really excited to do more with the other students, guys that were here today. Definitely tell your friends how exciting this was.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Brooke. This was really great. And I imagine, we'll have larger groups as the time goes on and the word gets out.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Yeah, we have another one scheduled in February.
Yes, everybody can. You can come see the new presentation that's being put together over Christmas. I'll answer your one quick question that's just come in. Can KINs help with speech? If you have the right training and you work with a speech language pathologist, you bet you can. Absolutely. All of this, it's all muscles. Yeah, we can do lots of stuff. It's really cool. That's why I said, figure out who you want to work with, what you want to do. You will find the pathway to where you want to be. Because as Tiffany said, there's no prescribed pathway. There's no right, there's no wrong. There's just, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be in the community of kin? You're defining it, because we're only 7 years old and we're so little in Ontario as a college. The profession itself is so young. You are defining all of it. So figure out what you want to do and run with that path, because you'll make a pathway if there's not already one there.
It's great
Yeah,
advice.
absolutely. Thanks, Brooke.
No problem, ladies. All right, everybody, have a really awesome rest of your day. I will send some of those documents your way to share with the students, but it was nice to chat with you today.
You too. Have a good
Yeah.
afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.